Welcome to the Hot and Healthy Show, conversations that change the way women work and live. I'm your host, Nicole van Hattem, holistic success coach, TEDx speaker and bestselling author, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Kelly Kingston, entrepreneur, multi-international award winner, documentary film producer, and the co-owner of Light Stays Retreats and Living. Hospitalised 10 times and the medical doctors couldn't find the problem. What Kelly discovered herself changed lives. She shares her personal story here so that you can be inspired to look at your path to wellness in new ways. Our topic today is a self-healing journey. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicole.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, thanks.
So, why did you pick this particular topic for your interview today?
This part of my life was probably a changing point for me in every single aspect of my life. I changed my job. I had kids. I couldn't look after them. And then once I actually couldn't look after them or live, I couldn't go shopping, I couldn't drive a car, I couldn't do anything. So this was a changing point in my life that was probably the biggest. Other than having children, this is my biggest changing curve point in my life.
Right. And are you comfortable sharing what the symptoms were that made it so that you couldn't drive and you couldn't work and you couldn't take care of your kids?
Absolutely.
What was happening for you?
So I was feeling like I was being choked, to be totally honest, and my chest was really, really tight. I couldn't breathe properly. I felt like I was dying. I was hyperventilating. No one could touch me. No one could come near me. And anytime I went to do something or look at someone, it was like they hated me. And I was in no mental state, no physical state, no emotional state, no anything. Everything was just tumbling down, and I had lots of rides in an ambulance. I didn't know what to do. I was very confused. Doctors didn't know what was wrong. They said that there was nothing wrong with me, and I was a bit of a hypochondriac.
So clearly the choking symptoms, and I can't breathe, and I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, blood tests, MRIs, scans, a whole heap of different things showed up to be normal. So whatever normal is, I didn't feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
How long did this go on for?
This went on probably for about 7 months. Yeah. The last part of the journey, I think, where I was hospitalised 10 times in 1 week, it was a pivotal point where I think I was nearly about ready to give up. And if it wasn't for a really close family friend that came in and literally I was in the fetal position on my bed, picked me up and took me to a naturopath or homeopathy. They did both, so it didn't matter. It was a healing practitioner, picked me up and took me over there, getting me to the car. I ended up in sweats. I was shaking like I had epilepsy, but never had epilepsy. And then once I actually got there, I was with the practitioner for about 4 hours.
What's
doing
the process
tests?
Did they take you through?
So the first part of it, I don't really it was a bit of a blur because I really didn't want to be there, but I wanted to be there, if that makes any sense. I felt really insecure, with other people that are around me. I thought that they were going to hurt me, harm me, say something bad about me, which would make me 10 times worse. So the first part of the procedure was to calm me, to keep me, just to kind of just relax.
You're safe.
You're safe. Didn't matter how many times they said it. I didn't feel it, but I did engage slowly. It was a very, very slow process for me because I didn't believe in this. I never knew it, was never raised with it. It was always go to the doctor. Whatever the doctor says, prescribe, take, do, that they're the gods of the medical industry. So when this beautiful family member came to me, picked me up, didn't ask any questions, said, you're coming with me and there's no two ways, you're just coming. My 2 kids are in the back seat. I don't even think they had a car seat. They were more worried about me than the kids. The kids just sat in. I think they were 3 and 5 at that particular point in time, my 2 eldest ones. And off we went to Ormeau because I was living at near Browns Plains Regents Park at that particular point in time. And so process, trying to keep me calm. Second one was they did a light check in my eye to see different aspects. I have no idea what their process was. I only remember what it was for me. The third one was a urine test. The fourth one, which took the longest, was a blood analysis, and they had like a blood machine where you just need to just put your thing in. They had it on a little tab and they closed it up and did their thing.
So blood spectrum analysis.
Yeah, something like that. And after that, I think they got reports pretty well much after the first hour to leading into the second hour. Pretty well much. Once I actually had all the tests done, my physical, biological age was 84 years old. At that particular point in time, I was currently, my daughter was 2, she's 14, that was 12 years ago. So I'm now 44, so I would have been 32, is my maths right? So I was 32 in a physical sense, but my biological clock from all the analysis and tests that were done showed that I was actually 84 years old.
So what was going on in your life at that time that sort of created the environment for you to feel and age like an 84-year-old?
Yeah, I didn't have a direction. My marriage was breaking up. I had no support, no family support. I was in a job I hated. In a house I didn't like. And really, like, I was eating the wrong foods. I was a big smoker, a big Scotch drinker. So I was drinking and smoking. I was a size 6. I was all skin and bones. I just felt like the tank was gone. It was empty. I just didn't know how to fill it back up again other than, I get that short burst highs by having a smoke, having a drink, dulling the pain, getting rid of all that, going to bed, sleeping it off and going again the next day.
Wow. So that is definitely a recipe for disaster.
A total recipe. I remember it like it was yesterday.
And so your physical symptoms sound like it's a way for your mind to tell yourself through your body something needs to change dramatically and it needs to change now.
Yeah.
I can't continue. You're in crisis. Please pay attention. Make a change.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I found out that was wrong with me that the doctors and the hospital system couldn't tell me is that I had massive anxiety. The panic attacks that led from the anxiety attacks would then make my heart go ragingly fast, therefore me thinking that I was having a heart attack and that I was going to just drop to the ground was not uncommon, because people that do have panic attacks or anxiety, which is one they're one and the same, but from my experience, anxiety is first and panic attacks come second. So the panic attacks are the anxiety in like extreme, like help, screaming out the body, just going, my gosh, girl, what are you doing to me? Like, you know, are you listening? No, I'm not. I don't know what to do. I have no idea what to do.
Or I don't want to listen because that means I have to do things differently, or I have to face up to some things that maybe I don't want to face up to.
Totally.
So you had this incredible 4-hour session with a naturopath, homeopath.
Yeah.
And then what was the prescription for that? How did you then begin to rebuild your life after that?
I hadn't ovulated and had a menstrual cycle for 2 years after my daughter was born, and I didn't really like getting my menstrual cycle, so it didn't bother me too much at that particular point in time. I didn't care, and didn't really think that anything of it. Oh yeah, I've got menopause early. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah. Like nothing.
Did the naturopath give you a plan to sort of implement changes? Because obviously there's certain aspects in your life that weren't directly related to what a naturopath could prescribe for you. So for example, challenges with a marriage, or having young children and the stresses that come with that, or being in a job or a house that you don't like.
Yeah, no, none of that. So pretty well much I had Chinese herbs. I had different eating patterns that I had to stick to. I had to get rid of the sugar, the alcohol, the wheat, the yeast, anything that pretty well much wasn't whole and was not allowed to eat it.
And inflammatory, because they're all inflammatory.
Exactly. So this was really hard for me, because then I was having to physically have to do this and to changing my mindset. So like, this is what I have to do to make myself feel better. If I don't do this, I'm going to go backwards again.
So it was running away from the pain. Were you also walking or moving towards a vision of what you wanted to look and feel like and operate in your life, or that was just not accessible to you at that time?
I had no idea.
Right.
No, not even accessible. Wasn't even on the radar. I had no idea. I had no idea that there was another world.
Wow.
None.
And now look at you.
I know, right?
So there were foods to remove.
So there was foods to remove, liquids to remove, and
herbs to add in,
and a whole heap of different things. The one thing, after 6 months, I was still on the same herbs. I was starting to feel nausea.
Like your body had enough.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah. But they still were trying to give me more, saying that my body needed it and I couldn't take it, because then I was now projectile vomiting. And I'm still like, okay. To a point, probably 3 months, I was feeling really good. I was starting to feel like normal.
It took 3 months.
It took 3 months for me to jump back into a car to feel safe.
Wow.
To go shopping, walk into a shopping centre. Even after 3 months, I think I still had mild sweats, kind of just going, oh my gosh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. You're safe, you're safe, you're safe. Yes, I can do this, I can do this. But I couldn't have anybody with me. I had to go in by myself. And then it was tiny steps. It's like, yeah, I can still do this.
Cool. So it's definitely foods to remove, herbs to add in, mindset. So having a conversation with yourself, I'm safe, I can do this. I'm safe, I can do this. And little baby steps to build that confidence. So it was a 3 month period. What else did the naturopaths and the natural healers guide you to do differently?
That was pretty well much about it in that space. One other thing that they did do is they actually injected saline into my ovaries to try and reactivate my ovaries. But that didn't work. It didn't work for me anyway. It may work for other people. But after I kept on going back after the 6 months, they were still wanting me to take those same herbs, and I was saying, well, I couldn't take those herbs anymore because I was feeling so sick. So I actually had to then make another change, another step. So then I went to I was actually in the health food shop at Browns Plains talking to the lady in there, and she recommended that I go and see a Chinese medicine man. So I've now been with the naturopath, homeopath that supplied me with Chinese medicines, which was in liquid form, which at what I was told and described back then goes into your body a lot faster and absorbs into the body, so that if you have a tablet, it sometimes doesn't get absorbed or whatever the case may be. So liquid was best advice.
More bioavailable at that time.
Absolutely. But then I think, well, what happened is I went and saw this other Chinese medicine man. I was still seeing him because I didn't know what to do. I was like, yeah.
Still finding your way, asking questions.
Yeah, and people saying, oh, but you're purging, you're getting rid of stuff, and you're going to feel that, pain, that stuff in your stomach because you're going through stuff and all this kind of stuff. Get it out. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Like, it was really like, morning sickness. Not that you'd know what that is, Nicole, because you haven't got children. But anyway, it was like I didn't want to wake up. So it was going from one extreme to the other. So you really have to kind of be more aware. Biggest thing that I didn't do, I didn't listen to my intuitive side.
It sounds like you did to a degree, but you weren't quite trusting it enough just yet. I mean, listening to your body saying it's rejecting these herbs, they're telling me I need to take them, but my body's rejecting them. That is you developing that intuition and that conversation with yourself. Yeah. So it's growing.
I didn't think I trusted in it then. Do you know what I mean? I'm still kind of... But anyway, cut a long story short, I ended up moving over to the Chinese medicine man. He was amazing. He was an Australian, Sean Connery, medicine man. I know, right?
Did he look like Sean Connery?
He looked like Sean Connery.
I need his number.
I know, right? And I saw them, him and his wife, for 4 years, nearly every single day, because I still needed that reassurance.
Wow.
It didn't matter. I went in there just to sit and have a cup of tea with him, because he was... I can't even explain it. It was the type of person that says, you walked in my front door, you're not going out the back door. You're going back out the front door. And he explained things in animated ways where if you couldn't physically write it, you could see it because he explained it that well. Beautiful. And he was amazing.
Which helps with your own mind to be able to visualise it and therefore tell your body what the process is that it needs to go through, for
Absolutely.
example.
And so from that, we worked out that too much Chinese herbs causes colds in your body.
Okay.
So I had an internal cold in my stomach, and so it was always cold. And I could not heat it up. I could not digest and eat my food properly. My food was going through me. Sometimes, you would have the runs. Sometimes you would not. But your body is not receiving the nutrients that you're actually
eating. Doesn't have
eating.
enough fire to burn the fuel and be able to absorb the nutrients to fuel you.
Absolutely. Great. So what he did is he actually had these red lights. And so for my sessions, I would be laying on the bed and have this red light, which would then start to heat up my body. And then I had treatments like this for about 6 weeks. So it took about 6 weeks for my digestive tract to come back on track. And after my body started functioning properly, which was, and this was 6 months after the naturopath and homeopathy, Chinese medicine man, 6 weeks. After that, it was bioresonance therapies, which are dry injections.
Okay.
Totally recommend. Anybody going through anything like that, I can't express how much it actually really changed my life.
I think you just did.
Okay.
We'll give them a link to where they can find out more information about bioresonance, because I'm aware that we've only got a couple of minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you some questions around, do you advocate for people who are health seekers to use a combination of both the medical profession and that pathway with sort of homeopathic and alternative and integrative? Or do you advocate more of a one or the other?
Do you know what? I heavily move to natural medicine. If I have a broken leg, I go to the hospital. If there's anything that I can think that I can pretty well much heal myself nowadays, I'm all over it. I've got naturopath, homeopathy, I've got a bioresonance machine, myself, everything's done internally.
And what about for your children?
Children are, whatever I get, they get.
Great. And one of the things we mentioned, we've got these African dolls here, because one of the things we were talking about before we started interviewing was that she does have a fertility story attached to her healing journey.
Absolutely.
So you have 2 children and then the ovaries aren't working, the periods aren't happening, and then what happens?
I actually got my fertility doll before I actually had children, because in my early teenage days I used to get the injection to stop having periods because I really didn't like periods. Hence, not worrying about not having my period 2 weeks after my second daughter was born. So I had Depo-Provera injections probably for about 5 years, 6 years through high school. And then I went off Depo-Provera injections, and I was told by a beautiful, beautiful girlfriend's mum, Kelly, I think, you really need to get off them and be in that space. So I followed her advice because I really respected her, and 3 years went by, 4 years went by, still didn't have a period. 6 years went by, my dad was in Africa, and he brought home this massive fertility doll, because he was really worried about me, but at that particular point in time. And so the fertility doll came with instructions that you put your fertility doll in the left-hand side corner of your bedroom, where you see it first thing in the morning, and it emanates feminine energy so that you can then regain your cycle. So yeah.
And then what happened?
And then what happened? So that 6 years later, I met a man, and I told him I couldn't have kids or anything like that. So no condoms. So sex was just sex, or making love, or being passionate, or whatever you want to use. And 3 months after, I go to the hospital, and the doctors wanted to do a laparoscopy to see what was happening and why I wasn't ovulating and everything. And to do that, you need to do a pregnancy test. And I'm still like, oh, you've got to be joking. I have not had a period in like 11 years. And you want to do a period? Yeah, okay, cool. I'll do this, humour you. Yep. I get back into the doctor's office, and she's looking at me, like staring at me like there's something wrong. And I've gone, is there something wrong? She goes, we can't do this operation today. I've gone, why? She goes, you're pregnant. I've gone, no way. I can't be pregnant. So, never had a period in 11 years, fell pregnant.
Fantastic. And then had the second baby, and then nothing, because life is a mess. Your nutrition is garbage.
Yep.
Your body is under incredible stress. It's
Yep.
inflamed.
Yep.
Then you go through this period of time where you're working with natural herbalists and healers.
Yep, and then I take responsibility for my own actions and my own life. I go and buy natural healing books, food, everything. Water had to be purified, had to be in specific bottles. I was anally retentive. Once you go over the hill and you can feel your body coming back to life, I and have never ever looked back. Fantastic. To this day.
But you've had a baby since then.
I have had a baby since then, and I've actually had 3 cesareans. The hospital system said that I was in labour with my first son for 17 hours, and he we had crowned and everything, but nothing was moving. So they had to push him back through the birth canal and do an emergency Caesar. That was horrific for him and I. And then Michaela, she was an elective cesarean. My third child, an elective cesarean. And then I had separated from my partner, and then the fourth little bubba comes, let's say I met my soulmate, my life partner, and he's absolutely amazing. He's my rock, he's my everything. And we just got on like a house on fire. Never intended on having a baby. Was not even on the radar. Did everything to not have a baby, but she was coming anyway. So
she chose you.
She chose us. Yes, she did. So we ended up doing everything naturally. I never saw a doctor once. Never had. I had a scan at 6 weeks to find out that I definitely was pregnant. And Graham could, be there and see it and everything. And yeah, no doctor's visits, no hospital visits.
Where did you give birth?
At home, at the bottom of my bed. And I had a vaginal birth, which the doctors and the hospital system said that would never, ever happen. 7 hours. Intense, very intense. But I did it.
So you've come full circle from not trusting your body, not embracing your body, doing medical system, having this incredible crisis with the whole of your life seems to be falling apart.
Yep.
Your body is screaming, I need something different. You embrace that. You take yourself through a prolonged sort of changing your thoughts, changing your food styles and your living styles, educating yourself.
Yeah.
And look at you. Healing, body's working naturally, you're in tune, and everything just flows beautifully. So what would you say to someone who is perhaps not where you are, perhaps not in as much crisis, but is curious as to how they can enhance their own health and well-being? What advice would you give to that person?
My advice would be to feel into your intuition in where your body feels that it needs to go. That's the first one, because if I had that, I probably wouldn't have prolonged that journey, although it is what it is. So feel into your intuition and research. Do your research. Like there's so many different people out there, and my biggest thing was that my family are telling me, go here, do this, go here, do this. That's not always the best advice. But
take it on board, trust yourself.
Take it on board, trust yourself, do research, and then baby steps.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. And how can people find out more about you? How can they connect with you?
They can pretty well much connect with me on Facebook, Kelly Kingston, and there's some other pages. We have Light Stays Retreats and Living. We have Inspired Living events. And the last one is New You, the Real World. So anywhere on there you can find me. I'm on LinkedIn. Just Google me.
She's here, everywhere.
I'm here.
I'll put some links in the comments below this video as well, and people can reach out to you.
Yeah.
And a couple of really last minute questions.
Yep.
What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? This is a really, really, going to sound like an oxymoron, but sometimes I don't trust in my intuition enough.
And what gets you out of bed in the morning?
My passion for life.
Beautiful.
And knowing that if I just make 1% change or goal or something, then I'm done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for all of you, if you are seeking your own answers, trust yourself a little bit more. Do your research, reach out to incredible people like Kelly, and put together a plan that works for you, because not everything works the same way for everyone, and you do need to come up with your own health and wellness plan. And if Kelly can help, I'm sure she'd be very happy for you to reach out and tune into more episodes of Hot and Healthy, where you're going to be able to learn tips, techniques and tricks on how to be hot in business and healthy for life.
If you like this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button and go and check out all our other videos. I'll see you in the next one.